Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our presentation. Today's presentation is Trends in Lighting Technology by MarVista Lighting. My name is Jolie Waugh. I currently serve as the Vice President for the AAA of Santa Barbara. And for all AAA members out there, you'll be receiving one learning unit for today's presentation. And then we also wanted to thank our monthly sponsor for this event, the Architectural Foundation of Santa Barbara. And then we also want to say thank you to MarVista Lighting for providing lunch for everyone through Grubhub credit today. That credit, if you have received it, should be good through the 25th. So you have an opportunity to use it. And I believe Lauren's going to put some information in the chat. If you did not receive that credit, you can reach out per the chat instructions. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker today, Summer Albergati. She's the Regional Sales Manager at 3G Lighting. She comes to us from South Carolina today. We also have Steve Dominguez and Lauren Shaw from MarVista Lighting with us. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And if you have any questions during the presentation, if you can please write them in the chat box, and there will be time at the end of the presentation for Summer to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it to you now, Summer. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for allowing me to join you today. It's nice. I heard it was nice and warm and pretty there. It's overcast, cloudy, and in the 40s here. So not quite as nice as it is for you guys out there, but I'm certainly happy to be with you today, at least virtually. We're going to talk about a few things related to top trends in technology over the last year, what they're expecting for the next 3 to 5 years. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn my camera off, because I will be the first one to admit that I terribly distract myself. So I'm going to stop the video and share my screen. I just want to get confirmation from someone that you can see my screen and everything is visible.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All good.
You can see it.
All right. Okay, perfect. All right, so let me preface this entire presentation by saying that, first of all, even though I compiled the information and put it together for this presentation, this is not based on my opinion or the opinion of a specific manufacturer. All of this data was gathered from major lighting resources throughout our community. So places like the IES, the Northwest P&L Lab, we have some info from them. We got info from the Lighting Research Center. So a lot of different organizations that we researched. And in doing that, we came up with what were considered at the beginning of 2022, the top trends in lighting technology. Now, here we are nearing the end of the year, of course. So it's going to be interesting to see which of these things we have seen already and which ones we haven't, and what might happen with these things over the next few years. So let's get started here with this presentation. Of course, this is an AIA approved presentation, which is what this slide here tells everyone. And so to just get started, I want to just kind of throw out some basic information about commercial lighting. So right now, the commercial lighting market is projected to reach about $21.8 billion by 2025. So we are definitely continuing to grow at rates that are much faster than what we've seen in the past. And of course, we all know that has a lot to do with our technology and the changes that are being made. So we are in a rapidly growing industry right now in lighting. There are some significant factors that are driving that growth. We have more opportunities for smart cities and smart lighting and smart controls, and not just with our light fixtures, but also with building management software and HVAC systems and things like that. There's been a larger focus on energy consumption. We've also had a lot of changes like you're seeing with our controls protocols and the types of things that are being required by cities and counties and governments related to lighting and controls. So we've seen this rapidly transition because our solutions are smart. They're relatively easy to figure out once you get them up and running, and they're coming out with more and more continually. So it's becoming easier for folks to invest in connected lighting or participate in some of these connected lighting solutions than ever before. So to just kind of cover this, I'm not going to read this entire list, but this is the top 10 trends, like I said, as of the beginning of 2022, and we're going to talk about each one of these individually. So the first one, kind of a no-brainer, right? And a lot of you may go, we already know this, right? You know, LED's been out for a while. I kind of had the same feeling when I saw this show up on the list over and over. But I think it's because there are still some things about LED that folks don't know. You know, everybody knows, I feel like, that it is energy efficient, that you get a lot of brightness and color from that. They know a lot about the fact that it lasts a long time. But there's still some things for those in our industry, particularly when you're working with designing lighting or specifying lighting for particular environments. These types of things, this kind of knowledge really will kind of help you just have in the back of your mind. So just so you know, they are much more affordable. And when I say they, I'm talking about the actual LED chip itself, okay? So each little LED chip is a tiny little electronic system in and of itself. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but we start as, in the industry, we start with a blue LED, and then we use yellow phosphor coating over top of that blue LED to change the color temperatures. The amount of phosphor and the concentrate of the phosphor is going to determine whether or not your light is more 4,000 Kelvin, 5,000 Kelvin with a lot of blue, or whether it's going to be warmer like 3,000 Kelvin and 2,700. So always know, particularly right now with all the research and things that are being done about blue light, there is still a lot of blue light that is very good for us. And all of our LEDs start out as blue LED chips. The reason for that right now is because they're still the most affordable, and they are also the easiest to control and maintain. So they have gone from approximately $2.40 per chip to about a nickel in a 10-year span. So think about, you know, you may have a product that has 100 different LED chips in it. You know, when we started this 10 years ago, that would have been way more expensive and really out of the realm of a lot of possibility for folks. But we've now leveled off. So your LED cost itself is pretty stable. I mean, let's be honest, we're probably not going to go any lower than 5 cents per chip. If anything, it may start to creep back up with the way things are going. But with LED, you have all of these benefits. Brightness is certainly one of them. The only thing that I want to point out about that is just remember that brightness is subjective. What is bright to me may not be bright to you. There are factors that affect how we see light and how we see the brightness of light. For instance, at the age of 50, the human eye only allows in half the amount of light that it allows in when you're 20. So for that reason, those that are in that older age range, over 50, may think that things are more dim than they are, and therefore they're going to require brighter light. The other thing that happens as we age, I know I'm the bearer of bad news right now, so sorry. All I'll say is I'm in the boat with you. as we age, the lens of our eye begins to yellow naturally. That's not the same thing as cataracts. That's a completely different thing. But the lens of the eye begins to yellow, which again affects how you see color and how bright things are to you. So keep that in mind when you're specifying lighting for environments where you're going to have groups of people that skew older or over 50. There's going to be a different set of needs there. Of course, the longevity is there. We talked about that. Going from L70 to L80, which is a very big deal. I do want to touch on that just for a moment because I want you guys to know what you're looking at. When we first came out with LEDs, actually the first blue LED chip was illuminated by Nick Holonyak in 1967. So they've been around a while. But what we realized is they don't just go out. They don't just burn out like our standard incandescent lamps. An LED will continue to glow for many, many years. So the industry had to decide, when do we consider an LED product no longer viable? When do we say, all right, this needs to be replaced? So what they determined was that when the LED is burning at 70% its initial light output, then that's what they're considering end of life. Now that's for an L70 rated luminaire. I want to point out to you that L80 and L90 ratings are out now for luminaires. And the reason that matters to you is because a manufacturer that offers you an L80 or an L90, what that means is at the end of the life of that LED, 50,000 hours, 60,000, however it is, you'll be burning at 80% your initial light output, or possibly 90% if you're in that L90 range. The reason that's important is because research shows us that over time, the human eye cannot detect the difference in a drop of about 20% of light output when it happens over time. So now if you're looking at a product that used to be L70, now is L80, L90, you're going to get even more lifetime out of those, because at the end of that rated life, if it's rated at L80, it's still going to appear as bright to folks as it did when you first installed the fixture. So another thing there that's just something to think about and keep in mind. Of course, with our LEDs, also we have superior color capability. We all know that CRI is something that's very important to us when we're specifying lighting for applications that are sensitive to color. But there's also a new metric out that's called TM30. TM30 takes CRI a step further. And what TM30 is going to do is show you exactly which colors are over or under saturated when you have those CRI values of less than 100. So that takes some of the guesswork out of it for you as well. So that's an extra step you can take too when you are specifying LEDs in those color sensitive areas. Ask for that TM30 data, and that will help you have the information you need. Tunable lighting. Tunability is something that is pretty easy to do with LEDs. We can do things like go from dim to warm. We can do tunable white and full color tunable. What that means, guys, if you don't know, is that in tunable white, you have one luminaire that has the capability to change from 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 5000 or 6500, depending on the manufacturer. And you're able to change the color temperature of light throughout the day. It can be done manually. It can be set to a time clock. A lot of options there. And the same as with full color, where you go from white light into a full saturated red, green, purple, so that you can then add some interest to those spaces. LEDs are inherently dimmable. We all know that. Again, one of the reasons that it makes them so easy to work with, and low voltage as well. We're going to talk a little bit more about low voltage when we get near the end. So, okay, number 2 on the list, visible or light disinfecting technology. Now, this is something that came on the scene, as you can imagine, during the pandemic. We'd heard some things about this even before COVID, early 2019, I guess, into early 2020. We started seeing light disinfecting solutions. So here's what you need to know about this. There's two different types. The first one is called visible light disinfection. Visible light disinfection is a technology that the light that is produced in that setting is already in our visible spectrum. Okay, so hang with me for 1 second. Look at this diagram you've got here. We see in a range of about 380 to 750 nanometers. All nanometers means it's how they measure light, so don't worry about that. But 380 to 750 is the range that we see color and light in all day long, every day. So 405 is a color of blue or violet that is in our visible system already. Therefore, being in environments where that 405 nanometer technology is illuminated is not at all harmful. It's perfectly safe for human beings, perfectly safe for materials and surfaces. There are some drawbacks with it though. First of all, visible light disinfection is not effective against COVID. It's not effective against the flu or norovirus. Things like that. However, it's very effective against foodborne and airborne pathogens like E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, MRSA. All of those things respond to the light disinfecting technology in a way that then renders them dead, I guess, for lack of a better word. The actual light itself helps to kill the bacteria, the pathogens that are on those surfaces. So your dosage time does take a little bit longer with this kind of technology. It could be anywhere from 4 hours to 12 hours. And remember, it is only for these certain types of pathogens. Again, very effective, in food preparation, food manufacturing, those types of things. That's where you're going to see a lot of visible light disinfection technology. Now, the other option is UV. We all know that UV solutions are out in the market now. There's been a lot of controversy back and forth over whether or not they are safe. If you look at the UV light that is being used in this type of technology, it's typically in that 100 to 300 nanometer range, which, as you can see, for you remember from the slide before, that is not in our visible spectrum. This is the same type of UV that we're exposed to outside with sunlight that causes sunburn and things like that. So we have to be careful with the UV solutions. Now, the UV solutions are very effective against COVID, the flu, norovirus, other viruses, and airborne pathogens. But because there is a safety risk to humans, you have to be careful where you use this technology. Many folks use this in areas that are unoccupied, maybe at the end of the day when everyone goes home, they turn those solutions on. We've also seen manufacturers offer those as indirect solutions so that they can work in the space, but no one is directly being affected by the light. So that's another possibility for light disinfecting technology. UV is also much quicker than visible light disinfection. UV, of course, we can disinfect an area within minutes instead of hours. But again, we have to be really careful where we use that technology. So number 3 on the list, human-centric lighting. This is probably something we've all heard at some point over the last few years. It's nothing really brand new. It's just starting to really make a difference in how folks are making products, installing them, and specifying them. So human-centric lighting is the study of how light affects the human body. We all know that we are affected by natural light, like sunlight. You can be sitting in an office with no windows. You can be, or just inside feeling kind of sluggish. You get sleepy, especially after lunch when you get a full belly. And then, get up, go outside, walk around on a sunny day, and you feel, okay, I feel a little bit better. I think I can make it. There's a reason for that. Our bodies respond very well to natural light and to sunlight. And so what we found is that we also are affected by artificial light. So now we are trying to find a way to utilize our knowledge about how we're affected by light and create environments on the inside, interior environments that are going to give us the benefit that we would get if we were sitting outside all day in the sunshine. So this study here is something that is being researched more and more and more. You're going to hear a lot of data about these things. You'll probably read a lot of articles and things like that as we move forward. But it's something that we're going to hear a lot about over the next few years. And it's because we know that lighting in our environment can directly affect things, right? Our sleep, our mood, alertness, appetite, your productivity. Just touching on blue light again, blue light is not good for sleep, right? Because high levels of blue light suppress your natural melatonin level. However, high levels of blue light also promote productivity and alertness. So you're going to find that, and this is sometimes one of the things that's tricky about lighting for sure, is, just because this light has a lot of blue in it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means you don't want to use it in your bedroom if you want to go to sleep at night, right? And it is all subjective, and everyone is affected differently, but there are some real correlations between the light in our interior environment and what goes on inside our bodies. So we're going to learn more about that, see more options for implementing those types of lighting packages. And I'm really excited. This is one of the things I think is really fun to learn about, is all the things that we actually are affected by with light that we had no idea about before now. So number 4 on the list, number 3 kind of leads to number 4, tunable lighting. Tunable lighting is something I mentioned to you earlier, where you can change color temperatures, whether going from dim to warm or into a full color or staying in your white Kelvin temperatures. But because of the study of human-centric lighting, folks are now like, okay, well, if we know we're affected by interior light, what do we do? How can we solve that problem? How can we resolve the issue or create environments that are more helpful for us and less harmful to our bodies? And tunable lighting is one of the ways that that can be achieved. It also has decreased in price over the years. Tunable lighting used to at least double the cost of your fixture, sometimes even more than that. But now we're seeing manufacturers offer tunable lighting for $25 or $50 adders. So certainly something that's becoming more affordable and easier to use. Here's some of the applications that we see most popular for tunable lighting. Healthcare, certainly. Education. We see office buildings, retail, and hospitality. Most of the hospitality is dim to warm. Healthcare, we see a lot of this in assisted living. We see it in interior sections of the hospital with the ICU and things like that, where folks aren't getting exposure to natural light. Also in the educational field, we see that there's been a lot of research that has shown that children with ADD, ADHD, autism are really affected by blue light. They are already experiencing overstimulation in their bodies. And when you take them into a room that's, 4,000, even 5,000 K light, that's going to agitate them further, actually. So being able to have tunable lighting in a classroom, so when those students are present in the room, you can change that lighting to 3,000 or 2,700, really does help create a much more calming environment. So there's a lot of different applications where tunable lighting can be used moving forward. So number 5 on the list, connected lighting, the IoT, right? The Internet of Things. This is something that we've been seeing grow and change over the years. Every year, it seems like something comes out that makes it a little bit different or a little more connected than what it used to be. These can be wired or wireless solutions. They can be accessed through really anything, your computer, your smartphone, a tablet. And what they found is that lighting is one of the most ideal ways to gather information about a building. Light fixtures can now be used to track things like temperature, humidity, occupancy, those types of things. And they can actually send that data back to someone who is controlling all of that, of course, and they can make real-time adjustments. So they don't have to go physically from building to building anymore and individually checking everything. This is all connected systems. So if something needs to be changed, adjusted, if a light is burned out, they can actually get those alerts and find all of that out from their smartphone or their computer. So pretty incredible stuff there. Some major benefits with connected lighting is, first of all, you can do it indoor or outdoor, makes no difference. Either one, it works well. You can do something as small as just your single office, or you can use connected lighting for an entire campus of businesses or a college or anything like that. So you can make this as simple or as complicated as you want. And I mentioned earlier that also we're seeing building management systems that are being tied in together with this lighting, and it then helps to decrease some of that lighting load and also make people more comfortable in their environments. So we're going to continue to see more and more connected lighting solutions from manufacturers. This one on the list, number 6, I think this is a really exciting one too. It's called Wi-Fi, light fidelity. I heard about this maybe a year, 18 months ago for the first time, just kind of in passing. And then it showed up on the list this year as something that we should be looking at seeing in the near future. So what is Wi-Fi? What that's going to do is give you a wireless technology that's going to use your light rather than your radio frequency to transmit information. So it's going to transmit super fast. It's much more reliable. It's virtually interference free. It is also more secure than Wi-Fi, radio, and cellular. And it will function in areas that otherwise are susceptible to that electromagnetic interference. So think about military bases, hospitals, aircraft cabins, those kinds of things. So Wi-Fi can be used in those areas, whereas other things cannot. So Wi-Fi is simpler than radio frequency communication. It uses direct modulation like what we use in low-cost infrared communication, like a remote control. LEDs have high intensities, and because they have those high intensities, they then can help to transmit information, very large amounts of information, and they can transmit it very quickly. So how fast is it? All right, supposedly, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I have never watched any of the Star Wars movies. I have nothing against them. I think if you are a Star Wars fan, that's awesome. I just honestly was raising children and never had time to watch anything. So supposedly though, you could download the entire Star Wars series of movies using Wi-Fi in approximately 3 minutes. So I know there are multiple of those movies, 7, 8, 9, I'm not sure how many, but I know enough that even for one movie to download in 3 minutes is pretty darn good. But to have the entire series be able to download that fast, that kind of gives you a little point of reference as to how fast it is. So this is where I think it's kind of interesting that at the beginning of 2022, we were expecting to see Wi-Fi available to the public before the end of the year. Now, you guys are in California, so I feel like if anybody sees it, you'll see it before we do here in lovely South Carolina. But I haven't heard of anyone actually having a lot of Wi-Fi applications at this time. So, certainly share if you know of anyone who's using it. I would love to hear about it. But my guess is, got delayed a little bit. We're going to be looking obviously at next year before we start to see Li-Fi opportunities. Number 7 on the list is horticulture lighting. Horticulture lighting is something that I found pretty interesting when it showed up. And the more I researched it, the more it kind of made sense to me as to why the horticulture market has held off as long as they have in adopting LED technology. So we all know that it is very important for your food, your fruits, your vegetables, your plants, all of those things to have certain concentrations of certain colors of light. They're also susceptible to the heat from light, also to the length of exposure that they have. So after researching this, it made sense to me why these guys would say, let's hold back a little bit on LED and see what happens. And I think it's because light plays such a huge role in horticulture that, if you're in an office and you decide to change your old fluorescent light out to an LED and you don't like it, okay, right? I mean, it's maybe annoying to you, you don't really like it, but it's not going to affect your life, at least we hope not. It also should not, hopefully, affect your work, right? The fact that you can work. However, for these guys in these greenhouses, you change that light up, and then all of a sudden the germination rate goes down. The growth rate changes. So I understand now why they waited as long as they have to start buying into LED, but it is happening, and it's expected to grow to 10.6 billion by 2026. We are seeing a lot more horticultural type environments, buildings, those types of things where lighting for this application is going to become more and more in demand. We also can create with horticulture lighting an actual recipe, if you will, of light that has a certain type of wavelength or color ratio that will then help those plants and the food and things like that continue to grow at the rate that they are desired, that the growers want them to grow at. So we still don't have a lot of standards when it comes to the horticulture lighting. So that is something too that I think is needed so that everyone kind of stays on the same page and we know what the options are and how to control those in those environments. So we're going to see more about that over the next few years as well. Number 8 on the list, net zero energy buildings. This one I think is something that's on the list. I know that there's a large group of folks who really would like to see this take hold and take hold quickly. But I think it's taking a little bit longer and it's a little bit more complicated than folks originally thought. It also is one of those things where it takes just the right application to even be able to create this type of building. So a net zero energy building means the total amount of energy used by the building on a yearly basis is equal to the same amount of renewable energy that they create on that site. So we do know this puts excess power on the grid. We do know that this reduces our carbon footprint and also helps to reduce energy, waste, water, all of that we know. But we also know that there are some challenges. So for that reason, right now, we're not seeing as many of those solutions, I think, as was originally anticipated. It's because they're expensive to design, right? I mean, you honestly can't retrofit an existing building. I suppose you would be very difficult and very costly to try to make that happen. So there are also other challenges with balancing the electrical load with supply and demand. They also are trying to figure out what technologies they can partner with to make this something that is more achievable and more easily achievable for buildings in the future. So we're going to have to kind of see what happens over the next couple of years with net zero energy buildings, and hopefully the changes that are being made are going to make those something that we see a little bit more of, and that we have more options to participate in. Number 9 on the list is transition to low voltage infrastructure. Again, this one is kind of like, to me, was kind of like the LED being on the list. I was kind of like, well, duh, right? I mean, of course, we want to transition to low voltage where we can. Not just our lighting. It's because those devices, they are able to communicate much easier wirelessly. They communicate in a lot of different ways: microwave, infrared, laser, radio frequencies, all with very low voltages. The most common ones that we see, guys, being 12, 24, 48. Most of the time we see 12 and 24. But the other positive of low voltage lighting is that when you use low voltage luminaires, the light that is produced is sharper. It also looks more natural than some of the higher voltage lighting that we've used in the past. So think about that. Anytime you really want to achieve a warm color temperature, a really nice, sharp ambient light that has that warm effect to it, low voltage lighting is great at being able to handle that situation. So we're going to continue to see more options for low voltage, such as PoE, power over Ethernet. That's another one of those things that is now possible. Is something that is being offered by manufacturers, being able to use that Cat6 cable to connect your lights rather than all of the wire and cord and conduit and all the different things that we've been having to use in the past. This works, just like plugging up your Ethernet cable. So there are some limitations to it, though, right now. First of all, it is pretty darn expensive, I have to say. This is one of those that I think, too, over time, as it becomes more in demand and solutions become more affordable, I think the prices of it will come down as well. But it's a higher initial cost. Now, of course, you'll save your money on the back end, but on the front end, it's a pretty steep number to have that solution installed. It is easy to install, though. You definitely have a lot of flexibility with this, a lot of control. You can get a lot of information and analytics through power over Ethernet, but it does also have limitations like wattage. There's a max wattage, so you can only get so many fixtures on one run. And so sometimes that creates an issue. So again, we will continue to watch PoE and other low voltage solutions and see how they progress over the next couple of years. All right, number 10 on the list. We're down to the last one. There's actually a growing demand for outdoor. This also is interesting to me because, again, well, of course, we have to have outdoor lighting. But what's happening is folks are starting to realize the benefit of having the proper outdoor lighting. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, there are a lot more security cameras and things like that, a lot more need for them than there was in the past. And so what they found is when you don't have the proper lighting outdoors, if you go to view a security camera, it's often hard to make out what color a car is or what color someone's wearing, or what's going on in the environment, just in the shadows or next to a certain area. So with outdoor lighting and it being LED, we now have the ability to control the CRI, the color rendering, so that when you go now to look at that security camera, you can tell that was a blue car, not a black car, things like that. So certainly our government are looking at LED solutions and outdoor lighting for the growth that is anticipated with our road projects. We have there's been a rise in traffic. I think everyone on this call probably could attest to that. And there's been more highways, more streets, more bridges, more things being built. And so we then need more increased outdoor lighting. Also, we are able now to use smart outdoor lighting, just like we talked about using smart indoor lighting. You can set up a campus with outdoor lighting so that, you know, if it's, let's say it's a university and there's a certain section of the campus that has a light that is out in a parking area or something like that, you know, a situation that could potentially be dangerous for someone. Now they can have a smart system where they get an alert, hey, this light just went out. So they can immediately go and take care of it. Things like getting more and more information about parking areas through the lights, occupancy, and how folks are moving in and out of those areas. So a lot of interest or a lot of research has been placed into outdoor lighting and what needs to change and what is changing. So you can see we're expected to grow. It's expected to get to a revenue of about $23.8 billion by 2030. So that's a pretty large increase for us. That's going to occur here over the next 7 or 8 years. So bringing all of this back together, our lighting market is growing and changing more rapidly than ever. It is a super exciting time to be specifying lighting and looking at those solutions. We have so many more options than we had in the past. They're only going to get better. There are some other forms of lighting that are being tested. I do want to say that LED right now is going to remain our main source for the foreseeable future. There are, you know, lasers and OLEDs and fiber optics. All of those types of things are being tested, but we don't see anything on the horizon in the way that's going to upset things the way that LED did. Not right yet, not over the next year or two. Keep in mind, like I said to you earlier, that 1967 is when we got the first blue LED, and it was, you know, mid-2000s before we actually had LED products in the market that we could sell to folks. So it does take a long time to develop a technology. So we're going to see things continue to change and grow, and some of these things may flip around. You know, next year when we put the list together, they may have completely scratched some of these things and said, nope, you know, it's not going to happen. So it'll be interesting to see as we move into 2023. So that completes the AIA portion of this presentation. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Okay. Thank you, Summer.
Sure.
Thank you for a great presentation. We appreciate your time and your knowledge on this. And Steve, I wanted to check in to see if you had anything that you wanted to add from MarVista Lighting regarding the presentation here.
No, I mean, I just wanted to, was there any questions? Did anybody have any questions, or did we were going to put them in the chat if there was any questions, right? So
right. I didn't see anything at this point. If you guys would like to go ahead and add your questions. There wasn't anything.
Yeah, if not,
chat.
Yeah. I just would like to say that we're thankful for the opportunity, MarVista, being a local agency, thankful for the opportunity to present and allow Summer to come and share her knowledge with everybody in the Santa Barbara chapter. I think what's interesting is when I started in this business in the mid-90s, we had so many different lamp sources that were available at the time: fluorescent, incandescent, metal halide, and all we were worried about from a sophistication standpoint was being able to dim the light source. And now we've gone to one source, and we have so many technologies now that that Summer brought to our attention, and that, you know, if any of this is needed, if you need more information about it or have a project that is relevant, MarVista Sales certainly is here to help with adding on to the information that Summer presented. So we are always here to help in terms of that. And so again, thank you very much, Summer, for that was a great presentation, and very relevant to the current trends in our industry. So much appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Summer. And for everyone out there, we actually have recorded this presentation, and it will be available in the newsletter and on our website in a couple of days. So if there was anything you missed or you wanted to re-listen to, you will be able to find it on the AIASB website. Also, we wanted to also let everyone know, AIA members in the community, we wanted to thank everyone who signed up for our Design Awards Gala. We did want to let you know that we are now currently sold out, so it was very popular this year. So thank you for everyone who signed up, but did also just want to let you know that that there are not any more tickets available at this time. But and then again, thank you to Steve and to Summer and to Lauren. This was all very relevant and really informative, and we really appreciate your time, your efforts, and the Grubhub lunches as well. Thank you very much. Do appreciate that. Lauren did put the information in the chat regarding, I believe it's the credits are good through the 21st and not the 25th. I wanted to make that correction to everyone. And if you need that information, it is in the chat. And we look forward to hearing more things as it comes along regarding lighting and looking into what's available, and appreciate your time. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great day.
Thank you.